Alright guys, so this is the Ukrainian drone again flying to target the Russian oil refinery, where in Bashkortostan, 900 miles away from Ukrainian border. Some say that it is the record-breaking flight, but before, those drones already targeted some of the infrastructure in Tatarstan with a similar distance range. And as you can see, it's the small piston engine general aviation airplane which was converted into the drone, so Ukraine continued to use those to target very distant targets. And this is what happened in the place. You can see some of the smoke coming from the Russian oil refinery. And here's one more video with this plain drone flying so clearly the same aircraft. Just yesterday we spoke about the Russian oil refineries, that Ukraine should continue to target them to lower the oil prices. So again, the Western politics misunderstood the logic of the market. And you know what? Russia itself makes the oil price to go down because they sell more oil to Belarus and Kazakhstan because they need benzene and diesel. So those countries are now actually helping Russia to produce more diesel and fuel for their army and basic needs of the Russian society. So all of the fears by the managers of the United States, by the White House itself and Pentagon were useless. Actually, Ukraine helps the current White House administration because it lowers the oil, so fuel prices, which is good for Biden's presidential campaign. So even if you have lots of the analytics, it's hard to predict how markets may behave if something extraordinary like that is happening. I mean, targeting the Russian oil refineries. And just for you to see this route, so it's 900 miles, 1,500 kilometers to reach the Russian oil refinery in Bashkortostan, really far away. You know, when Russia launches their cruise missile, they usually do it from the Caspian Sea. It is some sort of the neutral territory, and those missiles fly for at least 2 hours. But for the small piston engine drone, well, I guess that it may fly for half a day to reach the Russian oil refinery. And still the Russian air defense is unable to cope with it. Simply because Russia is damn big. Russia doesn't have enough facilities to protect all of its territory. And they have wide, wild areas with no people living there who might report the drone flying. About the Russian oil base in Luhansk, well, it was targeted around 2 days ago. It's been confirmed by the satellite images that Russia lost at least 3 of the oil or fuel tanks. They used this base to refuel their military. At least 7 of the drone strikes were reported on different Russian oil refineries facility. The last night it was in Krasnodar Oblast. There was a huge fire. So locals who were filming this video say that there were 7 of the drone strikes. The official Russian statement that there were 6 of the drones, all of them were shot down by the Russian air defense, yes, the mighty air defense, and some of the debris just went directly into the Russian oil refinery. Kind of strange, it is happening every time if we believe them. Plus we have some of the breaking news which are coming just right now. There was the ATACMS missile strike on occupied Mariupol. The information with this particular picture was shared from the Ukrainian official side. People in the local Telegram group chats also reported about the loud bang and the smoke. They say that possibly the Russian military base was targeted. And just while I'm recording this video, one more Russian oil refinery was targeted. So what is happening is just crazy. Ukraine intensified the attacks on the Russian oil gradually. This time it was Kalushska Oblast, the Oblast of Kaluga, you may call it in English. That is what definitely hurts the Russian Federation. So after our allies understood that those attacks are kind of profitable, I think they even encouraged Ukraine to continue. They just didn't tell it officially. What a day. Alright, and let me read you out what Russian officials say. The Russian Defense Ministry successfully repelled the attack of the Ukrainian drones on the Russian facilities. There are no any damages and no one hurt at the place where debris fell and hit the ground. Our emergency teams and firefighters are working at the scene. So if there is no any damage, why should you need the firefighters? Russia as it is. My friends, just a short message for you. If you want to support my daily job that I do on YouTube, you may join my Patreon team. The link for my Patreon is available in the video description just below. Thank you so much for your awesome support. According to some of the sources, Ukraine was able to shut down one more Sukhoi 25 Russian attack airplane just around 2 days ago. Ukraine already did it, so Russia continued to lose their aviation, but from the other sources, from the Russian sources, they're unable to confirm that this airplane was shot down. So I would say 50-50 for now that this one is real, because usually that particular Russian source confirms every Russian loss. But today they say that it's fake, so I'm waiting for more data to come for me to state that 100% this guy is down. Today, Ukrainian officials confirmed the loss of 2 of the hydroelectric power plants, one of which was targeted yesterday in Vinnytska Oblast. It's one of the biggest power stations in Ukraine. So unfortunately, even during the summertime, Ukrainians will struggle with electricity. To reduce the threat to Ukrainian military production, Ukraine started to build some of the factories underground, especially those which are making drone boats and other very sensitive equipment. We have this information from El Mundo. They do not specify location, luckily. Absolutely great news from the German Defense Minister Pistorius. He says that they will purchase 3 of the HIMARS units from the United States of America and send those to Ukraine, hopefully with ATACMS missiles. Why does Ukraine need more HIMARS? Well, first of all, some of the units were damaged or even destroyed by the Russian army. I saw the confirmation of at least 1 unit lost, so Ukraine needs more. Plus, Ukraine regularly sends HIMARS units for maintenance in the United States, so we need more units, it's obvious. Alright, today there was a big celebration in Russia, parade as usual on Victory Day in a great patriotic war. Why does Russia hesitate to call it a Second World War? Because actually they started the Second World War on Hitler's side from the occupation of Poland. Yes, from both of the sides, Hitler and Stalin. That is why they came out with their own great patriotic war, which starts from the Hitler's attack on the Soviet Union. Well, it's the history, but still they celebrate this day. In Europe, this day is day to remember all the victims of the war, but in Russia, they say, hooray, we can do it again. But actually, they cannot do it even with their parade, so it is today. And this is what happened in 2021, so we can see many more forces. Where are those Russians gone? Tell me in the comment section below. And you know what? Here we also see the parade convoy of the Russian vehicles, but not in the Red Square of Moscow, but somewhere on the front lines. And I think you may guess what happened to those Russian dudes. Yep, as usual. A parade in the Russian city of Khabarovsk. Here we may see even more tanks than in Moscow. So what is interesting about this one? The guy who is leading the convoy is the former commander of infamous 64th Motorized Rifle Brigade, which performed massacres in Bucha. Azatbek Omorbekov, it's the name of him, gave the order to his units to kill everyone in Bucha. The war crimes which were committed by the 64th Motorized Russian Brigade were documented, investigated not just by Ukraine, but also by international investigators and international journalists. The Western countries added him to the sanction list, that's it for now, but Russia honored him with medals, as usual. So hopefully one day Ukraine will perform its justice on this, well, it's really hard to say man. You probably know that Russia is buying some of the Starlink units from the third countries like UAE or even Turkey, and they continue to use them on the front lines. Well, today Pentagon officials with the Starlink company representatives developed a special plan to block those Starlinks which Russia uses in Ukraine. Finally, they came out with some sort of the solution. Hopefully, they will not jam Ukrainian Starlinks, because we obtain also Starlinks sometimes via the third countries. But what Russia continues to export is the life force for their army. People from Africa, from Asian countries are going and going to Russia. So many more videos like that are coming. This is some sort of the Russian training facility, so they're wearing definitely a Russian camouflage uniform. But we have some of the interesting news from India about the case. They arrested few of the recruiters for the Russian army in India in several of the provinces of the country. We have this big official document published, so why those Indians or Africans or Syrians are going to fight in Russia? Because Russia proposes them quite a huge salary compared to what they would have in their countries. So they want to risk their lives but get money. The risk is very high for them and they do not understand it at first. I think that most of them do not watch Telegram videos with Russian convoys ambushed, or they do not watch my channel. Because if you analyze this war, you'll understand that the chances for survival are very, very low. Alright, the new military map update has just been released and we have the only change for today in Synkivka. Let's go to the village. I think it's Kharkiv Oblast as far as I remember. Yes, I'm correct. So Russians are actually trying to reach Kupiansk via Synkivka village. They tried to do it during the winter campaign and during the autumn time. All of their attempts basically failed, so they understood that they're unsuccessful and there was a huge gap for several months in those attack attempts at this particular direction. And let's check out what happened today. It was yesterday and it is today. Just a light change of this front line. You may see that this tree line is covered with a red color right now. I wouldn't say that it's the huge change, but Russia really aims towards Kupiansk. So Ukraine needs to pay lots of the attention to that settlement. And also we have the information that Russia gathered lots of the forces near Kharkiv. On the Russian side, obviously in Belgorod Oblast, around 50,000 soldiers. It's not enough to take Kharkiv under control, but Russia might try to cut Kharkiv from the other Ukrainian territory, trying to encircle the city, or cut this very important road which Ukraine uses to connect not just to Kharkiv, but also to the other side of Ukraine, to the eastern side. So Russia might strike from this direction. Or they might go to Sumy, where the small Russian groups already have been spotted by Ukrainian defenders. They were defeated and left Ukrainian territory. Why am I sure about this information? Because it is official one coming from the Ukrainian military. The commander of the Kraken unit, for example, the Kraken unit is fighting in the Kharkiv Oblast. What also tells me that Russia will start the attack in Kharkiv Oblast, not just the resources which they are gathered out there, but the constant shelling of the city itself and the nearby settlements, villages, and the road infrastructure. It means that they're preparing for something. It has never been like that in Kharkiv. The shelling is definitely massive, even compared to what was 2 years ago. He also said about the situation in Bakhmut direction, in Chasiv Yar to be more precise. So he says that the main battle is now ongoing not for the Chasiv Yar itself, but to defend the settlement, not letting Russians to take it and use for the next advancement, for example to Drushkivka or Konstantinovka, because everything is very close here. So Chasiv Yar, Konstantinovka, Drushkivka, and there we have Kramatorsk. Basically it's all like a big settlement, one goes into another with almost no gap. However, I also have the information from Ukrainian officials that it's just a matter of time that Russia occupies Chasiv Yar, because still we're out of the proper tools to counteract to the Russian huge assaults, for example in Bakhmut area. But at the same time we have some of the good news. The United States of America is preparing to send more packages, more military packages to Ukraine in the coming weeks. So they want to intensify the military support of Ukraine. Today, John Kirby said about it during his press conference. The general goal for Russia this year is to occupy all of the Donetsk Oblast. And we all understand that if they are successful with this mission, they will not stop and continue forward to Dnipro and other Ukrainian cities. Some of the experts say that Russia will be successful with that, but honestly, I don't think so. They advanced, yes, they were very successful in Avdiivka direction, but we can see that for several days they're not moving that fast, and Ukraine starts to obtain more artillery shells and other tools to counteract the Russian offensives. It means that Russia will have tremendous losses for every settlement. Well, they may occupy Donetsk Oblast, but for sure they should announce a new massive mobilization of the Russian army men and send those to fight in Ukraine. And also, at first, they should go through the training, so not this year at least for them. And with the military support which Ukraine now currently has, I don't think that this idea or this goal of Russia is definitely possible. Today, Zelensky dismissed his chief of security. Probably you understand why. Yes, there was the assassination attempt of Zelensky a couple of days ago, so it was a proper thing to do because Russian FSB could influence him as well. Now 2 of the colonels were arrested. One of them is direct deputy of this guy. Fortunately, they knew everything about President Zelensky because they accompanied him elsewhere, everywhere. Again, we may have different attitude towards the Ukrainian president. I'm not saying that he is a perfect leader, no, but Ukraine should defend Zelensky as the institution, like Ukrainian president. He has the power, and the idea for Russia is to get rid of the power in Ukraine, put their own president as they thought it could be at the very beginning of the war, of the full-scale war. They even sent the former pro-Russian president Yanukovych to Belarus. He was ready to take the power in Ukraine. So Russia understands nothing about Ukrainian people, because Ukrainians would never allow Yanukovych to rule again in Ukraine. Honestly, I would like to see elections in Ukraine. After all, it is my own personal opinion, but if Zelensky stays as a president, he should be secured against any sort of the Russian attacks. By the way, today President Zelensky dismissed Zaluzhny from army totally, and now Valery Zaluzhny is the ambassador of Ukraine in the United Kingdom. I still do not understand this move, but we have what we have. My friends, and now don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are. Have a great time.